Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another very exciting Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. And today we have some awesome updates. I don't usually do this anymore at the start of my videos, but I'm trying to grow the channel, and so if you've not done so my dear friends, please may I ask you to hit the big subscribe button down below and make sure to ring the bell for notifications. This is your go-to for Star Wars news, lore, always with authenticity. I always keep things $1.50. There's no agenda on this channel, no big team, no big company, it's just me and my opinions. But no more jibber jabber, on to some big Star Wars news. So my friends, it finally happened. The viewership on Andor Season 2's finale has boosted the show to lead the streaming charts, with 931 million minutes watched. That's insane. If we're being realistic, releasing 3 episodes at a time definitely helps this metric, but the show has never reached these heights. Now if you want to know just how huge this win truly is, Andor was finally able to surmount a top 5 mainstay, which rarely gets beaten. I'm talking about Bluey. That's right, the Australian kids cartoon. If you don't realise just how big that is, Bluey is one of the most watched TV shows on planet Earth. I'll give you a small anecdote. I live in London, so I'm often taking buses and trains, and more often than not, when parents give their kids iPads to entertain them, what's playing is either Cocomelon or Bluey. So for Andor to beat that is quite an accomplishment. I get it, Andor was significantly longer, there were 3 episodes, but that's still enormous, because it wasn't able to beat it before. But for that week, nothing came close to Andor Season 2, and the series continues to grow. Fans all over the world are appreciating it. Disney and Lucasfilm should really take note. So what we're now going to do is compare these numbers to other Star Wars finales. Let's put this data up against some of the other shows. So keep in mind, Andor Season 2 is the only season out of all of the shows where there were 3 episodes in the final week. So we can in theory divide the 921 figure into 3 if you want to work on a per episode basis. But we have to remember an important caveat. The 931 million figure isn't just for those who watch the finale. It's the number of minutes watched across the show for the week of May 13th. So the finale would have got the majority of it, but a good percentage has to account for rewatches, those hearing about the show and watching it for the first time, so the earlier episodes, and those who are simply catching up, so those watching episodes 7, 8 and 9 for example. And even amongst finale viewership, we don't know the distribution, if the majority of folks watched all 3 episodes, if they just did episode 10, if it's heavily weighted towards episodes 10 and 11. A lot of this is based on assumptions, that they were watched equally. So just keep that in mind when we do our comparisons. Let's start with Andor Season 1. Week 12 was Rick's Road, 674 million. So there's about 2 episodes worth of Andor Season 2 episodes in Season 1's finale. Obi-Wan Kenobi received 860 million, Book of Boba Fett 885, Ahsoka 575, and oh my goodness, that's quite low, isn't it? I'm actually really shocked by this. Sorry to interrupt the video, we'll come on to the other shows in just a moment, but was that all it got? What happened? Do you think The Mandalorian Season 3 put fans off? Because there seems to be a big shift once that finished airing. But I would have assumed Ahsoka's last episode would have had high viewership. I'm keeping my fingers crossed Season 2 does. But anyway, now for The Acolyte, 335.
Yikes.
And now we come on to some of the big ones. All 3 seasons of The Mandalorian are unbeatable. Season 1's finale received 1.15 billion minutes watched. It was the finale fans wanted. You know, after the sequel trilogy, morale was low. So when Mando came along and said, look, we're doing a post-Return of the Jedi show. It's a space western, lone bounty hunter with a big Baby Yoda reveal. Fans were obsessed. Then you add Moff Gideon emerging from a TIE fighter with a freaking darksaber. Fans were blown away. This was going to be the show that connects to Star Wars Rebels and gives us what the sequel trilogy couldn't. Something refreshing that feels like Star Wars that's connecting to the wider universe. So of course when Season 2 came around, it was during the global you-know-what. Can't say the word here on YouTube. The hype was real. So when the Season 2 finale delivered Luke Skywalker, it's no surprise the numbers kept going up. Chapter 16 The Rescue collected 1.33 billion minutes. That is mind-blowing. And it shows exactly what I've been talking about, how popular Star Wars was just a few years ago, and the decline since. We haven't reached those heights since. There has been an insane decline in Disney Plus viewership. That's why the Andor Season 2 viewership being so high is such a big deal. If you divide it up, it's not as impressive, but it does demonstrate a resurgence. The Mandalorian Season 3 got 1.01 billion, so slightly lower than The Mandalorian Season 2, but still a lot of interest. The most steep declines happened after 2023, The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, which by the way is a show that I truly love, but the finale didn't even break the streaming charts. It beat The Acolyte, but by the smallest margin. It's not a series that Disney's going to renew for a second season. Financially speaking, both those shows made a loss. So I guess the question is, what does Andor Season 2's success mean for the future of Star Wars streaming? Well, as we know from Star Wars Celebration and statements put out by Disney, apart from Ahsoka's second season coming late 2026, Star Wars on the small screen is being put on ice. But in a new interview, Kathleen Kennedy seems to have been swayed by Andor's success. Whether it's the TV shows or the movies, the focus on Star Wars storytelling is going to be standalone projects with a more grounded tone. And this matches comments from Disney. The model of Tony Gilroy's series is going to shape the future of the franchise, and that is amazing news. There's the Maul series and some other animated projects. On the big screen there's The Mandalorian and Grogu, Starfighter, the Rey movie, but when we're talking about the return of live-action Disney+, I think we're in for more grounded, gritty and mature Star Wars. And the reason I say this, or part of the reason I'm saying this, is because of that one comment from the anonymous Disney executive. The one who said, the future of the franchise needs to be more like the quote, Andor guy talking about Tony Gilroy, and less of the Ahsoka guy talking about Dave Filoni. They were talking about succession after Kathy steps down. And while it is probably going to be Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck, there are concerns in the company that his direction isn't the right one for the future of Star Wars. But I hope the success of Andor and the positive reception to it does make Lucasfilm change their streaming priorities. But I also think there's a risk with this, because while Andor is amazing, I don't think that's the only flavor I want from Star Wars, because fundamentally we still need lightsabers, the Force, and the whole aesthetic of the first 6 movies that this franchise was built on. They can't neglect that, so why not combine the best of both? Really strong writing, gritty, grounded, character-focused in the Tony Gilroy sense, and apply that to all of the Force-related stuff, the Jedi, the Sith, and whatever else. And something really funny is that with Andor coming to an end, fans are realizing that between the end of Andor's finale and A New Hope, within the span of a few days, the Empire suffered so many losses. The Empire weakened by the death of Partagaz, Dedra Meero losing her intel on Axis, the Imperial facility on Scarif destroyed, the Death Star plan stolen, an old Jedi re-emerges, a new Jedi emerges, the destruction of the Death Star, the deaths of Tarkin and Krennic, and more importantly, the growth of the reach of the Rebel Alliance. But share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below, my dear friends. Did you enjoy this video? If you did, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Like I said, please subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.